All right, everybody, what's going on? It's Dr. J here, getting ready to introduce you to our next module, Module 6. So let's jump right into it and check this out. So, this particular module, we're going to be focusing on the voices of African people themselves. I love a good primary resource. This gives us the opportunity to not just understand things from a historical perspective in terms of data and information, but we actually hear the voices of people who have lived through the experience of enslavement. We're going to be introducing you to people like Sojourner Truth, Louisa Adams, Fountain Hughes, and Olaudah Equiano. So first and foremost, I want to just kind of give you a little bit of context. There was a time where some really cool journalists and some really cool researchers got together and they captured the voices of formerly enslaved Africans. And they really give you a great sense of the passion and the resilience and the experience many of our ancestors endured. Okay. And then we're going to focus on some key people. So, first, I want to introduce you to Louisa Adams. And she's going to talk about what it was like, the types of clothes that she would wear, the nature of some of her siblings, and just the reality of the hardship that she endured and survived as an enslaved African. And then there's another man that I want to introduce you to. His name is Fountain Hughes. And Fountain Hughes, he really talks about a really uncomfortable moment where we have to understand how African people were treated as livestock. And through his voice, we're able to really capture the essence of that reality. And it's a hard reality to accept, but it was a very real truth. Now, every African person wasn't always experiencing um, the worst of enslavement. Many of them did. That's the common narrative. That is the most common thing that we're going to see. But we also see people like Olaudah Equiano. And Olaudah was really, really very important because not only was he enslaved, but he also was very well traveled. He ended up becoming a captain of his own ship and really got a chance to see the world in a way that many African people at the time, especially under enslavement, were not privileged to. In addition to Olaudah, we also meet Sojourner Truth. And Sojourner Truth is a powerful woman. She's most noted for her speech, Ain't I a Woman? And this is a moment where she starts to really challenge white feminism at a very integral time because many white feminists were advocating for instance, voting rights. And they weren't necessarily assuming that Black women were going to be a part of that narrative. But people like Sojourner Truth absolutely made sure that they were involved in this wave of feminism. And she would be what we consider a pioneer in what we call Africana feminism or Black feminist thought. Now, as I mentioned to you, Olaudah was very, 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 very unique in that he was able to travel the world and also create his own narrative. And so I want to provide to you a few pages of his written work. And this is his autobiography. This is his voice in his own words, telling his story of what it was like being captured on the slave ships and eventually growing into the man that he is or the man that he was. Okay. I give you just a sneak peek of this entire document because the entire document, his entire narrative, is over 400 pages long. Now, those of you who really want to hear his voice, who really want to get into this literary piece, I encourage you because if you want, you can read all of it. Okay, and this is really awesome that these type of documents are made to us for free. If you scroll down quite a bit, you see there's quite a few blank pages, but once you get into the thick of it, you will see the beginnings of his narrative and his autobiography. And I just love being able to have things like this at our fingertips. And as I mentioned to you, Sojourner Truth is most noted for this speech, Ain't I a Woman? And of course, I have to make sure that you see it with your own two eyes. And so take a look at her speech, and it's written in a way that really kind of is indicative of the way that she's talked. So I encourage you to read it out loud so that you can kind of really get into the narrative of that she's painting about what it's like to be a woman. In addition to that, there has been several things written on the notorious Sojourner Truth. And so I also, for those of you who are really intrigued and really interested about her story, I also give you this text. And this is her life story as well. Okay. And it gives you all the details of what life was like for her. And she was an enslaved African at one point who, at a period of her time, is going to experience her freedom. Okay. And then finally, for this discussion post, I want you to really consider, because at this particular intersection of time, many African people are going to be awarded the privilege of being citizens, the privilege of being citizens under the 15th Amendment. And so for the first time, we're starting to hear the narrative of African American. Okay. And so I want you to now think about, if you were to talk about your life right now in this era, what would you say that it means to be American today? And I put up this picture of the Alabama brawl, because there are some very strong opinions about what life is like for African people now. And then we're going to get into our video quiz, our second video quiz. Now, remember, the video quizzes are here for you to take these questions, to wrestle with these questions, and then record me a video of your responses. And your videos don't always have to have your picture in it. Sometimes your videos can absolutely be like a TikTok video where you have photos and you just narrate, okay? But I really prefer for you to give me a video of your thoughts, all right? So be mindful also of the rubric criteria. You want to make sure that your video is at least 2 minutes long, that you respond to all three of the questions, and that your responses are original. Some of you are definitely going to get in the habit of reading your work on paper, but I really prefer for you to kind of read it for yourself and then be able to lift your head up and to be able to communicate to me without reading your paper verbatim. Okay, this is an opportunity for you to put things in your own words. And when you do that, you kind of put it in your brain in a different kind of way. Okay. And so the questions for this video response is, what are the differences and similarities between the institution of slavery before and after the colonial period? Now, slavery, as you have now learned, was definitely existing in many places. In fact, the Arab is said to have enslaved the African country before the European did. Okay, and slavery at itself, even within the social construct of Africa, was a very normalized thing. But there is something that changes, something that is distinct and different between pre-colonial slavery and when the Europeans get involved in the slave trade. And then I want you to explore, what is the purpose of these slave laws? Once Africans are brought to the colonies and they are put within the colonial confines, in the colonial structure, what are the purpose of these things called slave laws? And then the last thing that I want you to reflect on is, how do you understand when you think about the cotton industry and the impact that the cotton industry had on the devastation to Black bodies and even Black sexuality? How do you understand the relationship? How do these social dynamics change between white men and Black women, and white men, Black women, and white women? Okay. And I really want you to kind of wrestle with this, because I want you to see how this industry is going to really take advantage of everybody, not just African people, but also white women as well. Okay. So wrestle with that. Give me a quality response. Again, be mindful of the rubric and you'll be all set to go. All right, everybody, if you have any questions or any concerns, please let me know. I'm always here to help. And I look forward to watching your work. All right. Love you. Bye.